All right, 2-minute notice went out, so whenever you're ready to go.
We are now live from ASCD in Virginia.
Good morning, everybody. We have a few more minutes.
Everybody. Some of us aren't in Virginia. Some of us are in New Jersey still. All right, we're out, we're live, we're ready to go with the conversation. The welcome to SatChat has been set out. The topic is leadership in action. And go ahead, Brad.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hello. We are live here streaming from the ASCD Leaders to Leaders Conference in Arlington, Virginia. This is the, I think, fourth day, right? Third day? Fourth day, Billy?
I don't know. It's a fourth day for us.
That we've been down here. Yeah, it's been tremendous. We have about 1,000 people sitting here watching us right now. No, I'm just kidding. There's about 5,000. And we see that the viewership is going up. We now have 4 viewers, Billy. Hopefully that will go up.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm going to tweet out and welcome everybody.
So the people watching on live stream and they're with you guys, how many people actually participate in the conversations, do you know?
We could see the number here and we could count here.
And how many people live have ever participated in SatChat? Are there anybody that's new to it?
Live? We had 75 at ISTE.
Yeah, we had about 40 at NASSP.
And we have about 6 right here. 60 right here.
So how's the first couple of days been down there?
We've had a lot of fun. Met a lot of great people, and I think that's the good part about these conferences, the networking, and just the amount of things we've learned. Please introduce yourself.
I'm trying to get on. I'm having Wi-Fi.
It's like a busy chat, lots of people, lots of regulars, a couple of new people joining in. So we got Emmanuel Andre, who's actually saying this is his first Twitter chat.
That's great. So right now we're doing introductions. We do introductions from about 7:30 to 7:35, 7:36, and then we'll get into the questions. The topic today is leadership
in action.
In action. Leadership in action. That's been the focus of the ASCD Leaders to Leaders Conference down here in beautiful Arlington, Virginia.
Lots of new people that I have not seen before that are on the chat today. So this is going to be very good. People are going to start talking about leadership in a different way, hopefully.
We're going to bring on some guests as well, Scott. We have some phenomenal educators down here at the conference that know a lot more about education than we do.
How many people are in that leader to leader class?
This is the largest leaders to leaders class in the history of the ASCD Leaders to Leaders program. We have 45.
Wow, that's great.
Leaders to leaders. So they're really trying to grow the program, and the technology integration has been great. They've had a hashtag all week, hashtag ASCD Leaders to Leaders. I'm sorry. Hashtag ASCD L to L. Thank you, Joe.
And the program is it's called Emerging Leaders, not Leaders to Leaders.
Emerging Leaders.
Emerging Leaders.
That's what it's called. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Leaders to Leaders program that I was in for NJPSA in New Jersey. There's a lot of programs with leaders. So let's check out the stream here on Twitter, see who is with us.
We got people from all over the United States that are here. I see Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. I think I saw somebody from Idaho. Obviously, we have some people from New Jersey. You guys are in Virginia today. Where else? Where else? Lots and lots of places all over the United States.
Amy Heaven is checking in from Indianapolis. She's off to the Colts training camp. She says good morning.
We've got somebody from Atlanta. We've got our friend John, who's out of Wisconsin. Oh, it looks like a good group today. Looks like we're doing all right here. Mr. Cybrarian Man is here. He's always in here on these chats, so glad to have Jerry. All right. So we're going to post the first question in a minute. One last welcome. And then we go to the first question. The first question we're going to be posting is, what does leadership in action look like in your school or district? And I'm going to put that up here right now.
Probably know why. More than one question.
All right, gentlemen, if you'd retweet that first question, it's out there, and we can begin to have people talking about what leadership in their district or their school looks like.
Absolutely. Jared, you want to come up here, buddy?
Or do we want to bring in Kevin?
Kevin's just here looking at us. Come on in. Come on in.
Right
Jared.
in the middle, Jared.
Oh, this is only creepy.
That's good, buddy.
Last time I did this was chat roulette, and it didn't work out well.
So welcome, Jared, to Sat Chat Live here at the ASCD's ASCD's Leaders of Leaders Conference down here in Arlington, Virginia. We have hundreds of people online joining us on the conversation here, looking at leadership and what it means to lead actively, a very important topic. And Jared, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okie dokie. I am the assistant principal at Liberty High School in Carroll County, Maryland. I'm part of the emerging leader class for 2014 with Brad and Billy and a bunch of others. I'm also the moderator for Maryland Ed Chat, as well as AP Chat, which is assistant principal chat on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. with NASSP, and our national assistant principal leader, Courtney Rochelle, and our assistant principal from the state of Wisconsin, Lisa Rutler.
Awesome. And Jared, the first question here is, what does leadership in action look like in your school or district? Can you highlight one or two examples of what you're doing in your building? And because I've heard a lot of great things over the last few years, I think you need to tell your story.
First of all, they're all lies.
Yes.
I'm really good at writing. No, I think to me, leadership in action is more than simply the words that go up on the wall, and I think that's what happens a lot of times with quote leaders. They put visions out there because that's always step one. So the vision goes up on the wall, and then that's where their leadership tends to stop. You don't see them modeling the vision necessarily. They try, but there's so many complex things they're managing, the vision tends to get lost. So in our building, we've worked really hard to try to, one, make our vision statement 3 words, strive for excellence. So we have a core statement. We define what excellence is with 5 pillars, all trying to get it a little more organized so that it made it easier to communicate with the community and our stakeholders what we meant by that. And then annually, we have a statement that we try to embody that year. Last year was create, innovate, inspire. So we created a makerspace in our media center to try to promote creativity, but also to show that learning is more than just rote. It's not memorization. It's about application. We introduced flipped classroom learning as a pilot. We've launched an online technology portal, and our biggest one is that we took professional learning away from us as administrators and put it back in the hands of our teachers. And so our professional learning model is all about teachers teaching teachers, and it's based on a credit model where they earn a certain number of credits during the year. When they hit their credits, they've met their PD requirement. But the goal is to keep pushing to go further and to create as much collaboration and activity as possible. And I'm very happy this morning to be wearing a brand new school polo shirt, which has this year's magic statement on it, which is simply the word connect.
That's great.
Because everything we're doing this year is about connection. I think the part for me with leadership on Connect, though, is we're not trying to tell them what Connect is. We're not defining it. We're just putting the word out there. We want it to be an organic belief. What does Connect mean to you? Rather than forcing our definition of Connect on them. So hopefully that organic piece creates a model of leadership in everyone.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding, what you're doing with professional development and maker spaces. I know in our building, we started a STEM program last year for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So a marking period a year, they get to take innovation and design and are able to build things. And failure is a big part of that class. And if things that you build don't work, you go back to the drawing board. Collaboration I think those are the sorts of things that leaders are behind that can work together. Billy, what's it looking like in your building?
Well, right now, it's one of the things that I'm actually looking into is either creating a makerspace or doing at least a robotics program just to start bringing in some type of STEM-related stuff to the students I teach 3rd and 4th grade elementary, and it's different. Just trying to bring in something to meet the needs of the students, because students are our first priority, and being a teacher, being a leadership teacher in the role I play, that's important just to look at different ideas of what I can bring in to better my students.
Absolutely. Now, Scott, you're there. You're with us right now. We're up to 19 viewers on the live Google Hangout. We have about 8,000 people now here in attendance.
To moderate it.
What's it looking like in your building, Scott, in terms of leadership and some of the things? You're fairly new to your district, and so that's a different perspective. But what does leadership in action look like in your school or district?
Leadership in action in my district looks similar to what you're talking about there. We have a couple of things that we're working on. Last year we had a theme of your students, my students, our students. And what we did is we put the focus on any student that walked through our door is all of our responsibility. If that student isn't assigned to your class, that student is still part of your responsibility. That has moved forward to the following year for next September, which is motivating a community of learners. And we're talking about everybody's responsibility of motivating not only our students to learn, but also our teachers to learn. And this whole leadership in action really got kicked off when we read David Burgess's Teach Like a Pirate. And when he was done, I went to the staff during that assembly and said, take a risk. And so leadership in action for me is what I just put out on a tweet, which is taking responsibility for learning, teaching, and our profession as educators with or without the title. In my district, you can be a leader and you do not need to have the title.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important things when you lead in a district is to model that leader and to model that learning, model that leadership. And Jared, you referred back to a chat you moderate on a weekly basis. Can you tell us a little more about that, when it takes place? And
Which one?
you moderate too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, both.
Maryland Ed Chat is on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. We do take the summer off, and we come back in August. The one that we've really started recently is AP Chat, and that was another piece of leadership that came from organic kind of thought. Sitting at NASSP back in February, I guess it was, or March, whenever we were in Dallas, we said we really need something focused on assistant principals to talk. Not that all these chats aren't great, but our role is so odd sometimes in terms of leadership. We needed something. So we do AP Chat every Sunday at 8 p.m. In fact, this Sunday we have Eric Scheninger himself on to discuss digital leadership with us. So cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's important, when you're leading a school or a district, is to keep up on best practices. And Eric's book is definitely a tremendous resource as we're leading here in a digital age. Digital Leadership by Eric Scheninger. I'll definitely have to check in on that. We are up to 20 viewers now here on the live Google Hangout. It's a tremendous discussion here so far.
Once I leave, it's going to go up to 40.
Yes, at the ASCD Leaders to Leaders Conference here in Arlington, Virginia. Hashtag ASCD-LTL is the official hashtag of this conference. And for the last 3 or 4 days, we have the emerging leaders, there's 45 of us, along with alumni and other ASCD members, have been able to connect and collaborate and work on leadership and issues and learn about leadership. We had a keynote speaker yesterday, Jerry Weiss. He was a former superintendent in Maryland, I believe, Montgomery County, and now retired, but goes around the world and speaks about leadership, and he really brought some great points. So I encourage you to check out the Twitter stream from the ASCD Leaders to Leaders Conference down here in Arlington, Virginia, using the hashtag ASCD-L2L. Jared, I thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'll see you in a little bit. We're going to move on here to question 2. Scott, can you tweet out question 2 for me, if you don't mind? Question 2 is...
I'll take care of it, bro.
I know. All the questions. Now, question 2, moving on. How does your district define leadership, and who are considered leaders? Mr. Fred Endy, you want to come up here for a moment, buddy? All right, man. Fred, how you doing?
I'm great. Yourself?
I know we've tweeted with each other over the past few months. In the virtual world, it was great to finally put the Twitter handle to the face, so to speak. And you had a great Ignite session, Fred, here the other day. That was a great thing about this conference. All the leaders here have been able to share their insight, and 5 or 6 in particular, on the opening day of this conference, were able to share with us their thoughts on leadership and education through Ignite sessions. And basically, Ignite session is a brief 5 or 6 minute presentation, and it was just tremendous. And Fred, thank you for joining us here for a few moments. Fred, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself? We have 20 viewers now on the live Google Hangout.
Hey, everybody. My name is Fred Endy. I am an assistant director of curriculum in the northern New York City suburbs. And I work with about 18 districts around designing really powerful curriculum for students K-12. It's a great position. I have the opportunity to see how things really work in different districts and what really strong curriculum looks like. For some, may be different than for others, but for me, it's an opportunity to really get a sense of how to work and design curriculum that works for all students.
Yeah, and you have a unique position, so you get to work with a number of schools.
Absolutely.
And so there are some obstacles probably, and there's positives, negatives. So how do you interact with the leaders? How does that take place? The educators, going from building to building throughout the district.
Sure. So in some cases, it's really getting a sense of what the real vision and missions are for each of those buildings, right, and seeing where my organization can fit in and how we can help people meet the goals that they've already set. And it's an opportunity to really see that learning and leading looks very, very different, but often the goals are all the same. Right? We all want our students and all learners to be successful, and so part of the first steps is really going in and then seeing what those buildings and districts' needs are and how we can help them meet them. So I think start to really get to know people, then it becomes easier to help them achieve the goals that they set.
Absolutely. And we were driving down here, Billy and I, from New Jersey, and Billy received a phone call from his tech department head, and was asking him about what computers should we buy for our school. And I think that's a great example of your district leadership looking to others within the building, whether the teachers, other staff, as leaders, and including their voice. And Billy, can you speak to that a little bit and how you have evolved as a leader in your building?
Yeah, a lot of the times we have an IT guy, director of IT, and he oftentimes comes to me because we don't have a supervisor of computers. We have very small. He's looking to purchase something or looking to add software. He'll come to me. What do you think? How can we use this? Will this work? We had a conversation on the way down, and he actually called me while I was down here saying, this is what I just looked at, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think about it? What's the use of this for you in the classroom? So it's good to have that conversation, and actually he wants me to come by next week when I get back just to look at the device and see if this is something we're going to use. So just being developed as a leader in that role, being asked for advice, it's definitely a leadership role, because I'm looking at the different devices. When I was down at ISTE, he asked me to go around to the different vendors, see what you can find out, see the information. And a lot of teachers don't get asked out, so it's nice that they recognize that that's part of where my leadership areas are, my strong parts, and just having that conversation is good to bring people up and develop leaders within your own district, within your own building.
And Fred, how do you, when you're working in your district, how do you figure out who the leaders are, whether they're teachers, administrators, and your go-to people, and people that are going to see that progress through?
You really take a look to see what people are most interested in, and if people are really kind of keyed into something that Billy was talking about, tech, and those folks who have a strength in tech or an interest in some aspects of tech from the inside. People will always kind of share what they like to do, right? And if you can find those people, kind of bring them along and key them into the things that interest them, you can really cultivate real strong leadership. And leadership's that's proactive, right? Where people want to do things rather than feeling like they're pushed into a position they don't want
Absolutely. And Scott, you're joining us here on the live sat chat from your home there in New Jersey. And again, Scott, you're in your, I think, second year at Spotswood as a superintendent there, and you have several buildings in your district. How, from a superintendent's perspective, how do you see who are the leaders, the true leaders in your building, and really build capacity?
There's a number of different opportunities. In small districts, sometimes it's harder, and you have to make those opportunities available to everybody. But in my district, we have department chairs. We have 3 levels of department chairs, 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is a leader among peers, somebody who runs the meetings, organizes everybody, helps with the curriculum development. Level 2 does observations and does everything Level 1 does. And Level 3 does everything Level 1 and 2 does, but oversees all the department chairs. So there are 3 levels of leadership there, but outside of that, there's also opportunities to teach in our new teacher induction program that starts in August. There's 3 days before school starts, and then we have a new teacher academy that runs for the entire 4 years of teachers non-tenured in our district. And so a number of our teachers teach in that program and show their leadership and their ability to provide leadership skill and information to our new teachers. You can also moderate clubs, be part of committees. We have lots of different opportunities. I run 2 district-wide committees. One's called the Lead Learner Committee, and we talk about tech integration. And the other one is the Faculty Administrative Communication Team, which is called FACT, which brings representation across the district together. So there are formal and informal leadership opportunities in my district, and I continue to find ways with my administrators and my teachers to give our staff, no matter what your title is, an opportunity to lead in some way or somehow.
That's great, and that's one of the things we're doing down here at the ASCD Leaders to Leaders Conference in Arlington, Virginia. We're working in groups, and we are developing an initiative, a project, working on a project looking at leadership. And our group in particular is trying to figure out how leaders in our buildings and in our districts. And so we've been working on that the last 2 days. After this session ends, we're actually to the rest of the group. And just some here, want to thank you for a few moments. Look forward to moving the conversation forward. Thank you. Now, do you have a minute? All right, Allison. We're going to bring on Allison now. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Welcome to Session 5. 3 now. And Allison, thank you for joining us again. Can you just introduce us, who you are, what you're all about?
Sure. I'm Allison Hogan. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I am a primary teacher, so I teach a K-1 transition class and the students academics, social, and emotional aspects before seeing they would from an additional year built in between kindergarten and first grade. We always hire members at the end of kindergarten year, so it's not a retention grade. It's certainly an add-on. So I fill in the holes from what they need in kindergarten, and then from there teach them first grade skills so they can go in with more confidence going forward. It's a big emphasis on social and emotional learning as well, when we integrated the wind-up curriculum about 3 years ago.
That's great, and I know you and I have got to meet each other finally in person, and just looking at your Twitter profile and your website and your blog and things, you do so many wonderful things with the kids, and you're involved in so many different initiatives, and that's great. Can you speak to like 1 or 2 things that you're really proud of as it relates to what you're doing maybe in school or outside of school?
Certainly. I really have stepped back and really, in my teaching practice, let the kids kind of go into learning with inquiry-based and project-based learning. And I've loved the adventures we've gone on. And last year we did a unit on flexible learning spaces and not having the funds to get new furniture to make their room bigger. I let the students lead that and really let them ask. I asked the questions. I listened to them. We tried some things. So the boys and girls decided half of them would get rid of their desk, and then they rearranged the classroom, and I let them kind of dabble with using other methods to get information down. And I was really impressed with the way that they made the classroom the third teacher, and reading the book the third teacher really helped me to see the vision for that.
That's tremendous. And often when you're actively leading, whether it be a teacher or an administrator, you overcome hurdles. And with these great things that you're doing in your building, you don't have to be specific. What kind of hurdles have you had to overcome, and how do you keep moving forward, even when you have tough days and things like that, when you're trying to be innovative and you're trying to do what's best for kids?
Certainly. So as a primary teacher, I get a lot of your students are unable to do this, they're too little, or they can't, they're not able to do this because they don't have the resources or tools. And I would say, really take the moment and really think outside the box. How can you work around that? And to give you an example, I had many people tell me that primary students can't blog, and last year participating in quad blogging and kid blogging, my students were able to be bloggers, and at Thanksgiving they went home with business cards that said blogger, mathematician, writer, and reader, and we're so proud to show their relatives at Thanksgiving that they could blog and had a blogging community to respond to their thoughts.
That's tremendous. That's something that I try to promote within my district, the idea of blogging, giving students an authentic audience. Because a lot of times they get tired of writing for their teacher or their parents, and they need that authentic audience. And can you speak to quad blogging a little bit more and how that came about?
Certainly. So quad blogging is a free method where any teacher can sign up, and you're paired with 3 other classes, and you have to have a class blogging account. There is a week where each class is spotlighted, and other classes go and read the blog of the class and make comments. So I would take my shared reading and writing time and really launch that for my students to have an authentic audience, as you were saying, Brad, to really have someone they could respond with.
Absolutely. I'm just tweeting out that you are live on our set here. I'm tweeting out the link. We have about 20 people watching SatChat right now live. We have now 20,000 people in our audience watching us as we go through this. We are looking at question number 3, how do you overcome hurdles when actively leading? And, technology integration comes to mind as I've been a leader over the past 6-7 years, and really trying to get people on board. I think there's a way to do it and a way not to do it, right? You want change, you want to be innovative, but respect the different ways that students and teachers learn. And you don't want to shove the technology down people's throat. But I think it's important that you model and you're available every day and sorts of things. In your building, what sorts of hurdles have you had to overcome, and how have you dealt with that when I know you're actively leading your building and doing all kinds of neat things.
But we had to overcome. We just got Wi-Fi back in April. A lot of it is just I work in a small district, and sometimes it's fun. A lot of times it's fun. They can get in the technology hands of kids, and what can we afford? And these kids, that is one of the biggest hurdles on a daily basis. And it's just I think of doing events and stuff for what can we do for free.
Absolutely.
Rather than how can we do all this technology, what technology do we have and how can we use it in a positive way?
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, you want to speak to this particular question from your perspective? I think we have all my perspective as a building level administrator. We have teacher leaders here, and then from a district wide level.
Sure, Brad. When you talk about how do you overcome hurdles when you're leading, and you need to realize that there's always going to be hurdles. So whenever you're leading, it's never going to be a smooth road. So what you have to do is realize that there's going to be a hurdle. It's either going to be an individual or it's going to be an issue associated with what you're trying to institute or what you're trying to work through. And what you have to do is stay positive, stay focused on what the purpose is, who can help you, and how you can get to the end with the best results possible, which always should be focused on improving student learning and improving teacher instruction. So those hurdles are going to be there, expect them, but at the end of the day, you're doing it for the best of your school, your district, your students, and your staff.
Absolutely, Scott. Thank you. Allison, thank you for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We have one more guest we're going to bring on here, the great Jill Thompson, one of the co-founders, co-moderators. Jill's here now with us. Jill, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Jill Thompson, and I run 20% Chat on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. And I'm also the program manager of personalized learning in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools.
That's great, and that kind of leads us into our next question, which is going to be tweeted out here in a moment, looking at collaboration, differentiation, and autonomy. So I think you're in a large school district, right? So you have to be visible and available everywhere, and make sure that that teach your personalized learning now, right? So that I think that's something that's huge. Now I think students need to be able to learn their own pace and interest them. So can you speak to like the personalized learning, how you're able to get everybody on board in a big district like that?
Sure. How we started is actually a time-based process. We started with the schools that were first willing, and then we definitely was able to be looking at school culture, the leadership, and then we had a few more facets of applications, models. So then once we had the buy-in from the schools, we were able to go through a design process and really individualize it for each school. Because we're such a large school district, we can't say one size fits all. Which is again against personalized or not what personalized learning is all about. Yeah. And so what we did is that we went through the design process last week actually, and each school is going to be doing something different. But our floor is that personalized learning is really taking that fundamental shift, and we are going not from the traditional teaching model, but actually having a student-centric model, but also empowering and nurturing the social, emotional, and academic and developmental needs as well. Using technology as just the tool. A lot of people think that personalized learning is the technology tool and what you use, but really it's not the fundamental shift.
That's awesome. And now you also, again, co-founded, you co-moderate 21st Ed Chat. I think it's, what, 2 or 3 years now that you've been doing this. Can you tell me how that came about and what the mission is of that particular chat? Because I think that's a true example of leadership in action and really, reflecting on your practices through social media, sharing ideas, and also taking in ideas, bringing them back to your district.
So 20% Chat started about 3 years ago. It's with Active Brindle and I am not lucky enough to have met him yet in person, but it's great that we can work through Google Hangout. But our mission and vision is really just making sure leaders and teachers and everybody are doing what's best for students. And we've debated a long time about switching the name from 21st Ed Chat because eventually it's going to be 22nd Ed.
Not in our lifetime.
But the real point is it's just the future of education, and that was too long of a hashtag. So we really just focus on the future of education. And tomorrow night's topic is all about how do you manage change.
Yeah.
So, but we really started it because we both wanted to take a leadership role, and we joined a lot of the other chats, but they weren't meeting our needs. We thought, let's make our own to meet our needs, and we really thought we could do things differently by having people vote on what we want to talk about, so we had that buy-in from the Twitter members.
That's great, and I thank you for joining us here. I know we're going to get called into the room to start our presentation, so Jill, I'm a big fan of yours on Twitter, and I thank you, and a great meeting you and all that stuff, and thanks.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so we're here now looking at question number 4. Where do collaboration, differentiation, and autonomy fit into action-based leadership? Yeah, and we're going to now bring on another guest, somebody, again, that I followed on Twitter for the past year or two, and it's going to bring a higher ed perspective to our discussion here. And that's Eric Bernstein. Eric is a professor at USC. And Eric, thanks, buddy, for coming. Appreciate it. How you doing? How's it going? Eric, just introduce yourself to everybody. We have about 15 viewers right now in the live Google Hangout.
Eric Bernstein. I'm a professor in education, the Graduate School of Education, the Sears School of Education at the University of Southern California. Before that, I was a high school principal in Connecticut and middle school principal and middle school teacher. That's great. I mean, we're talking about leadership and leadership in action and what that really means. And part of that is collaboration, differentiation, autonomy, those sorts of things. As your role as a professor, a lot of it's in a virtual world. How are you able to work with the educators and
promote the idea of collaboration, autonomy, differentiation, and really get those points across?
Well, I think one of the most important things is, and this applies to faculty, and it applies to pre-service and in-service leaders and teachers. Going back to the basics, one of the things that in response to the first question is that really active leadership is one of the basic, comparable to the basic principles of teaching, which is monitoring and adjusting. You can't just have a plan, and this goes to the collaboration question. You can't just have a plan and say, I'm going to do X, and just do whatever you have to do X. You have to also be paying attention to how people around you are responding, how they're reacting, both social emotionally and intellectually, and also progressively, and add supports as they're needed. So, leadership requires differentiation in the same way that teaching requires differentiation. I think that most people who are in leadership roles have those skills from when they were in the classroom or when they were in a non-leadership position and they were working in the earlier stages. So I think that's a big piece.
Absolutely, and you were identified as an emerging leader a few years ago, and you keep coming back here to this conference. It's a tremendous conference, and being able to just hang out with people, like yourself and others, Jill, Alice, and Fred. It's not even about what the sessions, the keynote sessions, the projects we're working. It's networking and learning from one another. I think that's an important part of leadership, that networking component. And in terms of collaboration, we've seen a lot of collaboration down here at this conference, and we're working on projects. How does that look in your role as an online professor and students being able to collaborate on projects and things?
Well, I mean, first of all, collaboration is something that I think we talk a lot about in higher ed as faculty, but it is something that historically I think higher ed faculty haven't been great at. It's something that we need to work on. But I think that our classrooms, certainly in our synchronous online programs that you see, classrooms are full collaboration. And in the same way that you can't expect students to sit 3 hours or an hour or a few minutes or whatever your class time is in a K-12 classroom, or teachers for that matter sitting through a PD on their phones and chair. You do the same thing in a classroom sign where it's land-based, and you need to provide opportunities to collaborate with each other. And one of the key things, though, is trying to provide opportunities to collaborate around concrete, specific projects. And I think that that's an important piece with leadership. And I know at the University of Pennsylvania, where I also consult on a project on education leadership simulation, a lot of work at the Graduate School of Education on distributed leadership. And one of the big things about distributed leadership is identifying actual concrete tasks for leaders to collaborate around, teacher leaders to collaborate around, etc. And I think that's a key piece. Is a lot of times we talk about collaboration. Collaboration looks like people just working together, quote unquote. But I think that the piece that sometimes is missing is working together toward a specific goal or toward a specific project or on a specific team. And I think that that's one of the most important things. And we need to do that as higher ed faculty, is teaching or providing opportunities for teachers and pre-service administrators to practice collaborating around problems, around issues, around projects. I think that's key.
Now, Billy, I think within your school and your district, they provide you the autonomy to get out there, go to conferences, to try innovative things, to really learning process. Can you speak to that from your perspective as a teacher leader?
As a teacher leader, it's great. I mean, I do have a chance I have to put in, and hopefully my administrators will put in for, but usually I don't have problems. You see on out to not even the ones through school. That is such a great Lord. And out there, I can't believe it's coming up on August 4th. I know we do a little snapshot from there and just being able with over there's 300 educators that are there. Go massive for 100 waiting list. So I'm going to actually throw another idea out at camps with the following day, digital science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And that one I'm actually looking a little more because I really don't know. Just learn and to learn all that stuff that's out there. It's a great way of learning it, and it's free, which is the best part. Being able to have the opportunity that and being allowed to turn all the information I learned back to school, it's a great opportunity you have as a teacher.
That's great. And Eric, I thank you for joining us here for a few minutes, my friend. We had a great time here this last 4 days.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'll see you in a little bit, all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving on now to question 5, looking at technology and how it contributes to the success of active leadership. Scott, how are things on your end there? What's this Twitter stream looking like from your end?
We have a busy Twitter stream here. We have a lot of people participating in the conversation, a lot of great information, some links going out. So I would encourage everybody, if you are not following along with the conversation today on Twitter, to look for the Storify that Billy will put out later in the day.
Scott, the question 5 is looking at how can technology contribute to the success of active leadership. Can you speak to that from your perspective? Right now, we have about 15 viewers now on our live hangout. The crowd here at Leaders to Leaders has dwindled down live because they are now summons to the project rooms to work on projects. So we may have to scoot out in a moment as well. But, in terms of technology and being successful with active leadership, what's up for your end, Scott?
Well, yeah, I think you guys probably have to wrap up here after this response so that you can get to your day of learning. So I'm going to be pretty brief on this. We are advancing technology in my district where all of our teachers will be using it to improve their instruction, improve our students' learning, and I talk a lot about that. But it's also because technology is around us all the time, so our students need to be using the technology appropriately, and we need to be infusing some digital citizenship in that. And I see you guys are getting a little antsy there as you need to move into your next room. So if we're going to conclude here, I'd like to thank you guys for putting this together down there and enjoy the day with everybody and all the learning that's going to go on there.
We'll soon 15 minutes conversation to go. This is it for the live session. Thank you for joining us here. We are in Virginia at the ASCE Leader to Leader Conference. Billy and I were recognized as emerging leaders, so we're happy for the StatChat family and all that good stuff, and we're learning a lot, and it's been a great time. So, calling in Virginia for Billy Krakauer at Curry. See you later.
Let's get it stopped.
That was good.
That was good. The fact that Scott came over that might be good for.
So yeah, NASSP.